I think we'll get started. We have 34 people online so far. We had about 80 registered, but you're all here. And out of fairness to you, I think we should get this started. But my name is Kyle Helgen. I'm the Public Image Coordinator for Zones 25B and 29, and I'd like to welcome you to our February edition of our Public Image webinar. A couple things real quick, just if you want to keep yourself muted during everything, just to eliminate background noise and distraction, that'd be great. At the end, we are going to have some time for questions and answers for everybody that had a part of today. So if you want to shoot me any questions that you have for our presenters, I'll moderate that at the end. And then again, if you're just joining, if you want to rename yourself with just your district and what state you're in, so we kind of know where everybody's at today too, because we are stretching from the Texas-Mexico border all the way up into Ontario, Canada today. So excuse me, yeah, Ontario. That's where we're at. We're excited to show these webinars, but before I do that, I want to share just who the public image team is for our zone. You see on the screen in front of you, there's myself as the coordinator, and then we have kind of 7 assistants plus Patrick Harrison down in Texas, who's kind of an unofficial advisor. But our job is to work with all of you in your districts and clubs to be resources for you, to provide ideas, to provide support, encouragement, anything we can do to help make your jobs easier and more effective as in the public image realm of things. And one of the things we do is put on these webinars on a monthly basis. And it's a way that we can have regular contact with you and to deliver information that's topical and useful. And it's a way to go deeper into conversations and topics than if we were trying to deliver this just as an information dump at a training session in person. So this way more people can participate and it's an easier way to focus on deeper topics. Each month we focus on a couple things, either examples of how public image working together with membership or the foundation increase our success in all those areas, showcase a best practice that a district is having or a club is having, and have a deep dive into a particular topic. On the next slide here, you'll see we don't have much on here right now, but next month we're going to have effective promotion of events is going to be our main deep dive topic. And we have some other stuff that's planned for the rest of the Rotary year, but it's just not finalized yet, so didn't want to put it on there. But the next one will be on April 28th. And when I have a minute in a moment here, I will share the link for that March 25th meeting. A couple of announcements before we get into any of the details. If you're a district public image chair or district governor or governor-elect, I'd like to remind you to complete the activities in our regional public image citation. Again, that citation is a great roadmap for having a successful year public image wise, and you deserve to be recognized for those activities. So make sure you're doing some of those things. Also, for everyone involved, and I'll put the link in, or maybe Scott, can you put this link in a second? But check out the public image resource library on our zone website as well. We're trying to make it so everything is in one area. So you don't have to go all over the Rotary website or the zone website or district websites to find things, but where we can just put it all in one area for you. So make sure you visit our resource library too. And as I said before, our zone public image team is here to help. If you need any assistance with idea generation, team meetings, training sessions, that's what our job is. So while we're trying to be proactive, we can't be mind readers. So feel free to reach out to us as well. I mentioned the Q&A side of things. So rather than share a best practice this month, I wanted to share a few useful tools and tips that may help you focus your activities anywhere from the club level to the district level or beyond. Number one, we're going to start by sharing a quick update on the goals that the Rotary Board of Directors and the trustees of the Rotary Foundation have given public image coordinators for the 22-23 year. And I thought that, and then we'll go through and do a quick showcase of some updates to the brand center that I think make things easy. And then you'll hear some tips from a couple of our assistant public image coordinators first or as well. So first, though, I'd like to share these goals for 2022-23 Rotary year. Well, these goals are specifically for me as a public image coordinator and our team. I think it's important to share these with you for a couple reasons. First, you get to see what the Rotary International Board feels are the most important priorities we have in the year ahead. And second, it's a great way to provide examples of what good action-oriented goals should look like. So the first goal, as you can see on the slide, is to elevate Rotary's global profile as people of influence, people of purpose, and people of action. The more we can tell people who we are and that we have influence, purpose, and are willing to take action, won't that make more people want to become members or become partners with us? So I think that's important, and certainly we will work to elevate that through many of our communications. The second goal is about telling Rotary stories, which is a huge part of public image. It is certainly in Rotary, and we want to make sure that we're telling those stories about our programs and our projects and showcasing the success and impact we're having for our beneficiaries. So if goal number one is about telling people who we are, then I think this goal is about telling people what we do. The third goal is about our most significant priority, eradicating polio. This is a big deal, and we need to treat it as such. How can we place or keep this in front of our members so it's front and center, and to tell people about the progress we've made, especially when Rotary has been one of the leaders in the push to eradicate polio for nearly 40 years. We can all do our part, and we'll be more successful in our efforts and we'll grow as an organization when we promote what we're doing with polio eradication, especially when dealing with a pandemic over the last 2 years. Disease prevention and treatment is at the top of everybody's minds, and we can show a good example of what we're doing when we place that front and center. The last goal, I think, is more tactical than strategic, but these are good goals to have as well, is to make sure we're providing resources and training to our members so you all are as knowledgeable and effective as you can be in whatever your role is. And Jackie, the question about sharing the slides, yes, we will share them in the follow-up email that'll go out after this, along with links so you can watch the video, watch it again if you'd like to. So these goals, I want to share one additional thing on these goals. And here is the actual document. And I know this, you're not going to be able to read this too well, but here's the document that was sent to all of the Rotary coordinators and public image, membership and the foundation, endowment major gifts, and Polio Plus. Not only does it have the goals on the left side, but notice to the right, there are suggestions for activities that can be performed to achieve those goals. You know, I think we've all heard this, but a goal without a plan is just a wish. So this is a great example of how not only to set a goal, but to put a plan together as well. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen for a second, if I can find where my mouse is. So that's that part. It wasn't meant to be a deep dive, but those are our goals next year. And I wanted you to at least see those because that's what we're going to be focusing on as a group. So you're going to hear that when we're talking to you as district leaders. And I think it makes sense to try to combine that down and do some of the same type of communication to our clubs as well. So as district leaders, I think it's pretty easy to adjust those to work for your districts rather than the zone level, and to create action steps that can help your clubs achieve them. With a plan in place, you'll be more effective in promoting Rotary throughout our organizations. So now I'd like to share a little on some of the new features in Rotary's Brand Center that I think that'll make it a little bit easier for you to find what you're looking for, especially when it comes to correct brand elements. This isn't even going to be near the main course. In fact, I have in my notes here more of an appetizer, but it's almost like a snack before the appetizer. So you know where to look for these things. In the past, Rotary's had different documents that talk about brand fidelity and brand compliance, things like that. And they aren't the most user-friendly things in the world. I think these new features will help you better navigate the brand center to be able to find information you need. So let's take a look here. I'm going to share a different screen. When you go into My Rotary, obviously on the front page, you can see that. Okay, I think I have the right screen up. Everybody, okay, thanks, Tom. After signing into My Rotary, which you've done, you can go to either the Member Center, and then you see Brand Center down here, and that's where you're going to click, and it brings up the Brand Center page. Once you're there, and there's all sorts of things talking about people of action, logos, images, ads, materials, a lot of stuff, but in the middle, it says Our Brand, or it's up at the top as well. And when we click on that, this is where we're going to be able to find a lot of the new information that's on here. So brand story, and it goes through the people of action, the brand elements, promoting Rotary. We're able to, in the people of action part of things, we're able to learn, and I'll click on that, but it's got telling your people of action story, showing members taking action, examples of good pictures of people taking action versus examples of images you want to avoid. It also, at the bottom here, resources and reference, you see it has a link to one of the courses in the Learning Center that if you want to learn more about promoting your club as people of action, you can take that course in the Learning Center and learn a little bit more there. At the top as well, and on all these pages have this, is these marketing materials, where you could download ready-made people of action ads or create your own by using templates. I'm not going to show you how to do this right now, but you can go in and create templates like this one that has, you can put the people of action logos and words of action above and beyond your pictures. So a great resource there. If we go back here, the promoting Rotary. Again, there's resources here. You can see some of the examples, many of which include PDFs that you can download and utilize. And there's even a handy little table of contents to the side, but this has all sorts of information that could be beneficial to you. The thing I want to spend a minute on, though, is the brand elements in the middle, because this is the part that I think we can all do a better job at. And this lays it out as well as I've seen. It's not in a 20-page PDF anymore. If you click on brand elements, it talks about your logos at a glance. That's a one-page document. But this page goes through talking about the signature systems, your logos that you should use for your club or your district or the zone, or logo lockups when you're using a partner or a one-off event or program or a sponsor's logo. When you're going to use the master brand, don't just use the master brand, okay? That means it's a Rotary International event. You want to use your club or district logo on your own events. And down even to the bottom where it's got, here are the colors and the typography. So we'll look at these real quick. Here are the Rotary colors. And in fact, down below, here are the color codes for them. So if you're in, let's say you're making a PowerPoint or you're doing anything, you can add in the right color so it connects right to the Rotary brands. Same thing with the different types of font. Some are licensed, the Fruitigers are licensed, but if you don't have those, use the Open Sans or Arial Narrow. It shows things like that. The other thing that I think is cool in here is, and we'll just go to the logo for a moment, but on these, it's showing here's what they should look like, both Rotary, Rotaract, and Interact. And then up above, again, marketing-wise, create or update your club, district, or zone logo. So you can go in and create your own logo from that perspective. We're not going to do that right now because that's not what this is all about. But I wanted to show you that, you know, there's a lot of times at the brand center, it's tough to find everything. They've redone it. It's more user friendly. It's more, I like it and I get frustrated over it. So that's a good thing. I'm here in District 5960. So there we go. Rotary District 5960. And then we could download that file from there. So pretty easy way to go about things. So I'll stop there because that's not what this is all about today. But I wanted to at least showcase those goals and some of those resources so you know where to look for them. And I will send out those goals afterwards, as well as some of the links for the brand center too. Now, though, we've covered some goals and resources, and I want to give you a couple tidbits today, other than just the deep dive with John on hybrid meetings in a minute. And I'd like to call on a couple of our assistant public image coordinators to share a thought or two that I thought might be useful to all of you. Since we have an audience with a variety of experience today, I thought it'd be good to have our AR picks look at things from a different perspective. And we'll start with Gretchen Nolman, who's one of our first-year assistant public image coordinators from the West Liberty Rotary Club in Iowa. Gretchen, I'm trying to find you here, but there you are. I'm going to pin Gretchen because I can. Hi. Hi. Question I have for you. You were a club president a couple years ago. When you were club president, what's one bit of knowledge or encouragement you received or would have liked to receive from district leadership that would have helped how you thought about public image?
So one thing that I really enjoyed getting, and it was related to PR, is the Foundation Minute would come out from our district leadership once a week, and reading about that and being able to share that to our club locally, putting it into our newsletter, but just talking about it at the meeting, and then, you know, talking about what we did for the foundation, you know, itself, whether we gave to the donate, you know, to it, how it helped with community service grants, you know, and different things, and how we could potentially be involved in global grants when reading about the Foundation Minute. You know, and then one thing I got to thinking about, you know, now, you know, looking back at, as you say, what would have been beneficial that I didn't get, it would be nice to have maybe a PR moment though too, just talking about, you know, the good stories around, you know, your district or something, or what the public, you know, image committee is up to on your district. That would be something I think beneficial to help Pleasants to know and stuff like that. But now, obviously, being involved with this helps. You know, I think there's more awareness now than there was probably when I was president on public image and how important it is to share your story for Rotary. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Gretchen. And that foundation moment is a good one. And I will send the email address out to everybody so you can get on that mailing list. But it's a great way to essentially, you're going to be able to have a story each month or each week about what people are doing with regards to foundation grants. And it's a great way to just encourage people to give through those examples. So yeah, that's a great one. Next, I'm going to bring on Stephen Smutney, and who is one of our second year assistants, who's also been active in his district public image committee. And he's from Chicago. Stephen, you've been a district public image chair and have quite a bit of experience as an assistant public image coordinator as well. If you were starting as a district public image chair today, knowing what you know now, what would be your top priority?
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. I think working with district leadership to identify and build a multidisciplinary team is really, really important, especially from the moment you're tasked with taking on the role and training that team. I mean, there are so many facets to public image. In my opinion, it's helpful to identify volunteers, number one, with a variety of skills, but also that they have a variety of interests so that they can support the public image effort. And I know it's difficult sometimes to secure volunteers, so think about past club public image chairs and future club public image chairs, individuals that you might want to prepare for taking on a public image role in their own clubs. at a later date. And just remember that if there is a particular task that's really large or time consuming when you're building that team, to encourage your co-collaborators to develop their own teams or to tag team on tasks and projects. So from my perspective, building that team, identifying, working with district leadership to identify and build that team, and then training that team. There's a lot of information, new information that's frequently put out by Rotary. And that training that team is just a huge part of creating success and preparing your co-collaborators for guidance and ideas and the goals that district leadership and your public image goals for the year as well. So that's what
I think that's great. In the multidisciplinary fact, you know, putting people that have different skill sets and knowledge bases. And the other thing that I would add to that is a story from way back when with the company I work with. And I think I've shared this before, but the help desk used to be made up of a bunch of, you know, tech people who had zero personal skills whatsoever. So when I was calling with an issue and they're being condescending and, well, you should just know how to do this, and I just wanted to throw my computer out the window, it didn't help reduce the anxiety level. They made a shift, and instead they started hiring communications majors that they could train to help be on the help desk side of things. So there was a little bit better, bedside manner, so to speak. And I think, what does that have to do with us? Well, find the people that are energetic and passionate about it first, because you can't change energy, but you can teach them different skills. And if they have the right energy or a little bit of the knowledge base, you can help them learn exactly the specifics of what they need to do later. But it comes back to a team, and we can't do it all ourselves. So thanks for that, Stephen. And thanks for everything you do. I am going to bring on one more assistant, and that is Scott McLaughlin. And we're going to hear from a little different view from Scott. Scott is from the Kearney Dawn Rotary Club in Nebraska, and Scott is a past district governor. So Scott, as a past governor, looking through the public image lens, and I know that there are people in the governor line on this call today, what's one thing you know now after you've been district governor that you didn't know at the beginning or during the training to be governor that you would like to have implement, if you could?
Thank you, Kyle. I know you didn't mean this when you asked this question of me, but you do realize that I was in the governor year right in the middle of the pandemic. So when COVID-19 hit, Rotary slammed on the brakes. Everything went up in flames, and all those plans that we had to do things during that year that I was governor very abruptly changed directions. You know, I'm thinking about the answer to this question, and then I'm gonna hit you a softball here, or throw you a softball, because I think it pivots directly to our deep dive today. And the one thing that we did, obviously, when they shut down everything and Rotary couldn't have meetings anymore, the one thing that we pivoted to was to go to digital Zoom meetings or online meetings to at least keep the focus on Rotary and keep the ball rolling in the right direction. The one thing I did not know much about, and I'm a tech person, I did not know much about handling tech meetings or multiple, sessions of meetings properly. And by having the speaker that we've got on here following me here in just a few moments, I think that the people here are going to really get a good idea of how to do what we call a hybrid meeting now that we're all comfortable with doing. But 2 years ago when that happened, we really didn't know. I mean, Zoom meetings were relatively new, and I wish I would have known more. We did the best that we could at that time, but now we've got a lot more experience, and I think it's very, very important for people to realize the significance of being able to conduct a hybrid meeting in the fashion that John is going to explain to us here in just a few minutes. And I've had the opportunity to meet John in person, and he's a great guy. He's very smart, knows what he's doing, and I think everybody will get a lot of great things out of this when John's finished. So that'd be it.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, I think the more we can do to connect to more people and make it easier for them, the better it is. And that's an important thing. So thanks for the great transition as well there, because now we're going to move on to our deep dive for the month. And as I mentioned, this is a way to go deeper on a particular topic of interest, rather than trying to tackle this and everything else when we're together in person. It allows us to spend a little bit more time without overloading you with information, and we can include more people. Over the last few years, as Scott said, we've had to adapt and find new ways of doing things, and and one of the biggest is virtually. Well, we are back somewhat to in-person events. We've learned that there are positives to having a hybrid approach to our club meetings, training events, and any other Rotary activities. Like in an in-person event, the key should be making a hybrid event as engaging as possible for everyone, both in the room and online. So today we're going to dive, I didn't even notice I did that, a deep dive, and now we're diving into how to utilize hybrid meetings effectively. Joining me is a member of the Eden Prairie AM Rotary Club here in suburban Minneapolis, John Crudelli. John has served as president of his club in 2019-20 and has served District 5950 and our zones as a whole to share effective use of virtual and hybrid meetings. He's the right guy to be in this role too, as he has over 35 years of experience as a professional speaker, so he knows how to engage an audience. John, thanks for being here.
Kyle, gosh, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for the personal invitation and your trust. It's good to see Tom Gump, who was district governor and a dear friend of mine, and who kind of charged me with the aspect of bringing hybrid to not just our district, but to the zone. So it's great to be with you, to help us learn. From learning, we go to understanding. From understanding, we go to empowerment. From this, we go to humble confidence. And that's where I hope we can end up in the 2 or 3 hours we have together.
Yeah. Well, 2 or 3 hours, you're going to be on your own by the end of that.
20 minutes, 25 minutes. It's going to be
about 25 minutes, and I'm gonna put in the chat here just the link to our to the hybrid meeting resources page that you and your team have put together on our zone website. But so let's start at the beginning. Why is having a hybrid component to your meetings and events important in today's environment?
Absolutely. Thanks. And I know these questions for everyone that's going to be participating here, they're going to build on each other. So just stay with us through this whole piece. Like Scott, he just defined my experience, because as a president that same year, in the same moment he was a district governor, when we pivoted literally inside of a week, I think it was March 17th, thereabouts, where we canceled the meetings. We all went to something we hadn't heard of, Zoom, basically. And we only missed one meeting in my particular club. And we got trained on this and started to create this interactive experience in another way, virtually. And people want to stay connected, and they want to stay connected in the most meaningful ways. And so from canceling, and I was talking to district governors around the zone, and some clubs didn't have a meeting for 6 months. I mean, they literally just shut down, and they were waiting for everything to come back to normal. And just kind of hold on to this, and that is that we're not going to go back to normal, and there's not going to be a new normal. There's going to be a next normal. And we need to trust in this. And so when in crisis, it was Michael Hyatt that said, when in crisis, ask the question, what does this make possible? And so what it made possible was us interacting virtually. Well, then as we started to be able to get to where people were in different places of health and comfort of getting back together, we have the desire to connect. People wanted to start meeting again. And the idea of surveying your club to say, are we ready to meet? It was crazy how this was coming back. We couldn't get there. No one was we would never have a meeting if we waited for everyone to come back. So then it was, how can we do this? And industry was ahead of us. Industry, if you surveyed Next Normal, they were starting to introduce something called hybrid. And the idea of having an interactive experience, an interactive meeting experience with people in the room and people virtually. Some people tried streaming, and that was, you watch it. It's like a TV show. That isn't effective. Hybrid was coming and bringing people together and honoring people in the room and honoring people that are virtual and bringing them together. And that's what this tool is all about, and it serves people. Yeah,
and I think that's the best way to engage people, both in the room and online as well. And you mentioned there at the beginning, you know, that there are people that clubs, well, we'll just get back together when this is over, and we're still there 2 years almost. And you're right, March 17th, I was supposed to be flying to Florida, and still haven't been to Disney World. And my kids remind me of that every now and again too. But now, okay, we're 2 years in, and let's look forward as we continue to look to the future. Why do you think, why will hybrid meetings continue to be important?
I think what's happened is I mean, I've got friends that are elderly or older friends. I'm on the front end of that in some regards, saying, hey, we wanted to see our grandchild's first birthday. And so hybrid, or actually, was a way to be able to do this. They learned Zoom, they learned things to be able, and now that they've done this technology they would have never discovered before, they're going, hey, I'm comfortable with this. And so how can I apply this at the club level? You look at companies doing the same thing. To retain talent, they need to let people work from home or allow and find different ways. People are moving around. It's called the law of proximity, though, too, where people want to get together. So a couple points that I've listed out here is that it's become expected. It's just not an option for employers, but for ways for people to come together. But it involves our reach and our extension. So what that means is attendees can access your club meeting from anywhere. We can have guests that can be from anywhere. We can have prospects that can be from anywhere. Tom is specializing in this, Mr. Gump, around the world on starting clubs that can, because of the virtual component, people can be further out from the center of town. They can attend from home. They can attend from the office. We've got people that are attending from, when they're wintering in Florida or Phoenix or something, or they're at the cabin, or they have a tight work schedule that day. And so because they have adopted or adapted to now the virtual part, the Zoom part, they're going, gosh, if I can be in the meeting without the drive time, or if I have a tight meeting, I can participate in this way. If as a communicator on a committee, I can interact with my co-chair, they're in the room, I'm at home, able to work together. This is a part that now is, wow, this makes something possible that may be even better than it was before. And so embrace that. Imagine a small club or any club who could only rely on speakers who are within driving distance out in rural wherever. And now you could have, for World Polio Days and things such as that, you can have someone from anywhere in the world as your speaker, even in the smallest of clubs. All you need to do is have a laptop, have a projector, have a big screen, and now you've got a guest from anywhere, and now you make your meetings more appealing. The flexibility with virtual, your meetings can be hosted from anywhere. Members can attend in person virtually in any given week. Those are some of the touch points. People that can winter, I've touched on that. Tom Gump can be anywhere. Jennifer Jones coming into her year, the ability for her to be on several continents in one day and be involved in a hybrid meeting is making this access a way for this to have a personal touch, where before they'd be flown in, they'd need to be entertained, there'd be hotel charges. You could do 1 or 2 or 3 a week, depending on the pace. And so it makes, she came to Rotary Zone Institute. She came there via virtual for both the keynote at the luncheon, as well as for breakouts for other people. So we can do this too in our lives. We can do this in the club level. And my invitation is just to look through the lens of your what you're charged with in public image to say, how might you leverage this? Engagement is another. You can include people in the room. You can record to rebroadcast, as we're doing today. Raj in Maple Grove, a past president and someone I worked with quite a bit in his club, he had grants going in both Africa and India at the same time. I happened to be a guest speaker at one of his meetings. That day, he had, I think, 12 to 15 guests. They were literally talking about these grants. They had the sponsoring international club person on from those countries. They had the recipients of the grants in the meeting. It was just amazing to be able to bring this together, which then inspires their own Rotarians, those that are the donors that might have been invited in as other guests, whether they were Rotarians or not. And so again, it's just the imagination there is remarkable. So those are a few things as far as I think the relevance continuing to go forward.
Yeah, and I think, and in society doesn't tend to go backwards. So now that more people are comfortable with things and they expect more, we need to continue to provide more there. And that's like you said, it creates for better accessibility for our members. There was a couple of weeks ago, I had to give my wife a ride to the airport on Wednesday morning, and I really wanted to listen to our speaker. And so I dropped her off and was on the meeting on my phone on the way back from the airport, because I can do that then, where in the past I would have skipped that meeting and just felt out of touch with things. And to bring in better speakers, like you said, it's great from that standpoint. So this is a public image webinar. So I think the next question here really hits our side of the world. How best do you make a hybrid event that's engaging to everyone in both audiences? And I think now we're getting into a little bit more content, and I'll repost in the chat the resource link again and your email address too as you answer that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to reference it, so I may have you pull up, if you would, into your browser that particular page and at some point I'll ask you just to share it. So I'll start by sharing mine, and then we can look at what's at this, because I'm going to share a few slides. These are slides that I also shared at the Rotary Zone Institute, and there we go. And then know that there's a page dedicated to this with videos, with PDFs, with the PowerPoint decks downloadable and at length. There's one video on there on how to do a large club meeting that's been viewed, I think now 16,000 times. It's got literally ads attached to it. And all I did was show people in 9 minutes how to use the equipment that's behind me. So it's all there and you can dive in. But I'd like to just help you to think some things through and show you some pictures and point out a few things in actual meetings. It's really hard to design products with focus groups. A lot of times they don't know what they want until you show them. And that's what you're doing in public image. You're showing people what's possible. Simon Sinek has a way to describe it. And he said, start with why. Why is all those 4 goals that were shared at the very beginning. Why is how we can inspire and impact people, the mission and vision of Rotary around the world in each of those areas. So how is bringing people together, and what we do to do this is the hybrid, and the what is some of the tools within the hybrid. So you always go back to why. Otherwise we get exhausted. If we're just looking at what it is that we need to do, we might actually start to get resentful. So always come back to the purpose and the why as you then look at then these 3 goals and objectives. Club meetings held in person and virtually. This is just the reinforcement of what we covered at the beginning. Goal is to honor. Remember that word honor. We're there to honor and support members in both groups, to attract, involve, and to engage them in both groups. They're all inside the meeting at the same time. And I'm going to show you some pictures where I think you're going to actually feel the vibe of that. And to generate the interactive experience, excuse me. So we're honoring people based on their health issues or their reasons for staying away, or as you said in the ride home, you're able to tap in. I think I've been at your club in Prior Lake, Kyle, where you were, maybe on a phone tapping in at some point. So we want to honor that. Excuse me there. I'm getting excited. This is Mark, and this is with Bloomington. And he is with Stephen, and they're doing, say, happy dollars and sharing back and forth. You can look at Mark. He's actually looking at his laptop. And what's happened there is they've chosen the camera at the podium to be the laptop podium at the beginning. And with this now, Stephen, what does he see? We see Stephen's face. He's looking at everybody sitting in the room. But what does Stephen see? He doesn't see himself. I don't see myself right now on full screen. He sees Mark looking right into his eyes. And so it's a very personal and intimate experience for him. Here's Terry Lowe, also at Bloomington. What you see on the screen is what everyone at home is seeing, because he's using a cell phone. He's a move around guy, and he likes to use a little small tripod. So when he's doing happy dollars, he's going around to the tables with the microphone, and he's spotlighting his particular phone, and he's turning on the mic, and he does all this through the large group system, which is what I have behind me and which you can see on that particular website. So everyone at home sees what's on the screen, but because that's the particular camera that he has highlighted. Now, a year later, I went back to Bloomington Noon, and people are now interacting. They're not having masks as much. And look who's doing the invocation or the inspiration. It's the gentleman at home. This is the interactive part where they are literally being led. The pledge can be led by someone in the room or someone at home. The invocation or the inspiration can be led from someone in the room or someone at home. Four-way test the same way. Committee conversations and updates and announcements can be both in the room and at home. And we're honoring this, and you're doing the screen shares based on what is going to optimize it so that people in the room are experiencing those that are tuning in, and those that are at home are actually able to experience and feel like they're in the room. This is Terry running the meeting. He likes to use 2 laptops, and the advantage of this is in this particular meeting, they actually had 2 speakers that were with the same group about this type of voting. They were not in the same location. So they were in their homes actually in 2 different parts of town, and they were going back and forth in their presentation. And so what you see at home is what's on the left-hand side, and he's running the meeting from that host computer, but he's actually using the projector computer on the right. And so he can adjust the shots in the room, which means that you could have speaker view at home, but he could actually force and have gallery view so you can see everybody in the room, where he can adjust these things. And he's eating lunch during the presentation. So he's just making it fun. We call it hybrid support instead of tech support, because it's just there's not as much resistance for this. So what about people virtually? This would have been Kyle coming back from the airport. He would have been looking at the meeting on his cell phone, and a screenshot of that would have looked something such as this. And so you're able to participate. And I often attend meetings virtually, and I give hybrid support afterwards. And so I enjoy taking screenshots. This is Hudson. So it's in the 5960. It's in Kyle's district. And I've just found so much joy with their club. Ruth was the past president 2 years ago, year and a half ago now. And she's there explaining to her hybrid support person really what she wants. This is before the meeting, but notice the view, and you've got 2 people in it. So here's how this is achieved. She has a camera. They have a camera set up at about 2 o'clock pointing towards the podium. And so now kind of look at now, and here's a line to remember. Let the culture of your club drive and determine the technology that you get, versus get technology and force it into your club. If your club is used to the microphone moving around, then find a way to bring a camera around to go to people, or they can line up, to come up for, let's say, happy dollars or announcements, but find ways so that it still has that same feeling. And so when you look at it, then it goes over, and this is Paul off to the side, and he's now running, one person running the entire meeting. So here's what it looks like to me. I like to slide that cursor over so I can see a lot of people and have a chance to view the expressions and get a sense of how they're receiving. But when you look at her, that red box, this is the view of people at home if they have it in speaker view with screen share. Then gallery view is what I have it in. It's okay. Notice kind of the look there. Now here's the full look. So again, adjusting it, and you've got a feeling of being in the room, versus if it's the camera right on your computer, it looks like a Zoom conversation. This one now looks like you're actually in a conference room or at a meeting. That stepping back a little bit helps with this. Here's my favorite picture in every photo that I've taken in my time doing hybrid training and trying to capture something. This is Ruth doing a handoff to Chris, who's going to start leading 3 questions. They're going to have people in the room answer 3 questions, and they're going to have people online answer 3 questions. And they've got a vibe going between them, and they've got a banter. This is a very playful club. You can see it. Now, if this was looking into the screen, it would just look like me looking into the screen right now laughing. But because the camera's a little ways back and it's a USB camera going in, and you can pick between those cameras, this is what you experience at home. Doesn't it feel like you're in the meeting? Somebody is, they're there. And now he's asking 3 questions. You can see him up in the upper box there. He's asking the questions, and this is what you see with the person speaking, because it goes to speaker view for the screen when you're highlighting somebody in this way. And then you've got Brenda and Jill up giving an announcement. And so here they are. They're giving the announcement like they normally would. At home, this is what I see. This is my screenshot. And notice behind them, they've got it set with gallery view. So the screenshot for the people in the room, they don't need to see the speakers up on the screen because they're right in front of them. But they'd love to see their friends up on the screen. And another technique is also you can get it to where it's not showing all the boxes where the videos are shut off, so that you can get all the pictures together. Make sure that those other ones are at the end. So you're really seeing people's faces. Another piece is to invite people for hybrid etiquette to keep their cameras on. And here you go. This is Kyle's club. This is Prior Lake, where I learned the most about hybrid from Joe and Dave as they were jumping right in as soon as they could get open. And this is Marlis, president 2 presidents ago. And she's looking, there you go. You can see what you see at home is always the highlighted. They have a 2-camera shoot in the room. She's not actually looking at the one that's right in front of her at the podium. That's 2 screens over at the very top. This is one that's a little further back. So they actually got a little more complex in how they're choosing their views, but this is a year in. So that would be some examples. Pull up, if you would. Let's see, do I have it here? There's the page. Pull up this page, if you would, Kyle, and then I'm going to jump out of screen share.
Okay. You want me to share it?
Yeah, I'm going to have you share it.
All right.
I'm down to like my last 2 slides when I come back.
Sounds good.
So if you just scroll through this, what you're going to see is all these links and text setup guides. When you look at those templates, there's 4 clubs. Chanhassen, you keep coming down. So here's the setup tips. You've got the videos right there, the length of them, so that you're not getting into something all of a sudden you find out it's an hour and 10 minutes. Those text setup guides on the left, my gosh, team. What we did is we had the clubs take pictures and I left them in Word documents. So you literally can cut and paste the language out of those, and you put in your own photos from your own club, and you'll see exactly how to set one up. You can read it. You can see what is yours most like. I had them, we just blanked out their codes and there you go. And if you scroll down, you'll see other drawings and everything else. These are the pictures of how they set up their mixer. There's 4 examples in there. So everybody ought to be able to build on this and go through it. And make this happen. This is something that you can be excited about for the tech support. You're leveraging how do you utilize this experience to have more outreach and impact people in the community. So we can jump out of this, and what was in the highlighted are the 2 new resources that we've put in, because it's a pretty robust website. Best practices on meetings, that Terry Lowe one, the second one, watch that sometime. That came right out of his breakout session with me down at Rotary Zone Institute. And so that would be a resource to please go to and just enjoy and pass it on to the critical people inside your club. So let me stop sharing now, and you can ask your final 2 questions, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Yeah. So we've talked some about how to create a good product. And so that eliminates one of the questions. But I think, what are some ways that we could effectively utilize hybrid meetings then once we have this product and the resources all good? So it is a good product. It's not just the laptop that's pointing at one person and you can't see anybody else in the room or anything like that. But now we have a good product. What are a couple ways you think we could effectively utilize hybrid meetings to promote your club and further engage the community? Absolutely. So just picture what you saw, and then imagine and ask the question, what if? Mike Rayburn, he does a program called What If? And what if? And so instead of something being impossible, it's what if it was? And just keep leaning into this. And here's a couple. First of all, with great humility, you're public image coordinator. So you've got this in your mind and in your spirit of how you want to bring this expertise to the people. But think about in your community. So think about the Rotary strategic goals, which are impact, expand our reach, enhance engagement, and we want to increase the ability to adapt. That was broken down in the goals that you heard today. So here's a couple examples. I presented during my year an honorary
Paul Harris Award to an executive leader. Actually was the executive leader at Shields. We were using their room for some things, and they sponsor our club. And we were just doing Zoom at the time. Their marketing person and public relations person said, how about if you bring the award here during one of our team meetings? So literally we went in with a phone on a tripod that was held. I had a little lapel microphone plugged in. So that was the sound system. We presented. Our first hybrid meeting was everybody on Zoom on our club, but we were in the room at a team meeting in a company presenting an honorary Paul Harris Award to this surprised individual who then we had 2 or 3 people give some speeches to acknowledge Shields, to acknowledge Jason, and then his receiving of this so beautifully in front of our members online, but also in front of his team. So his team could experience it, where normally it'd be in reverse. He'd be at a meeting by himself and we would be giving it to him then. So there's just creative solution of bringing people in. We did a joint meeting. It was with the Morningside Club, Edina Morningside, another club that meets at the exact same time as us. And it was our 3rd Zoom meeting. So we were in, and we typically have a joint meeting. We'd go to someone's club or they would come to us, and that's shared. And but this time we did it on Zoom. And this is the way we did it. And you could do it with hybrid in the room, people on Zoom, and we had an international guest. I had Karen Jacobson as the guest, who is the voice of Siri internationally in Australia, and she's a concert pianist. So people were promoting the guest. They were so jazzed to hear from her. What's the voice of Siri? And so people's spouses were on and others were on, and they were able to expand this and capture it. And we captured the video of this as well. That's the other thing that we can do with this, is now meetings can be recorded, and to whatever extent you want to edit, they can be replayed. So that's a couple things. And one last one is unlimited spots on Zoom to attend. And so if you have something you want to highlight, people in a company can be there, awards, as we said earlier, whatever you might be highlighting within your sponsors or within people who are receiving the gifts with the grants that are going out. They could literally have the person receiving it at your meeting, but they could have people viewing it from their offices and actually enjoying, and they could be 5, 10, 20 guests just thinking about this. What if? I think that's the way to come at it. So those are a few suggestions.
Yeah, those are great suggestions. And I think adding to it is just, well, if somebody can't, if you have you're talking about having a special meeting, and if somebody can't be there, you say, well, it's all right. You don't need to be there in person. I'll send you the link. Welcome. And it's the same way you reference the people on Zoom or people in the room, and you go from there. So one last question, and I think this is an important one. By the way,
I'll just add a comment to that. Yeah. I know of some churches where people would come as guests, and I got to believe this could be used and is being used in Rotary. People used to take the time to go to see if they wanted to change churches or whatever it might be. Now with the research, because they were on Zoom and the number of people that were now viewing online, they know that the first 5 to 7 touches of the people are going to be on Zoom before they actually ever come to an in-person message, before they actually come to a service. And so imagine if the sales or the invitation funnel really is that they have 2 or 3 touch points. We had a guest last week that they came for the first time virtually. And if they like what they feel and they see and they experience and how they're welcome, then maybe they attend again that way, and then they come in person. So it could be that this is a way that it's now expected on their side that, hey, if this is available, I won't take up as much of my time to check out what's really there. And then you just need to give them a quality experience.
Sure. Making it easy. One last question. And I think this is the important one, or the most important, because, obviously you have a wealth of information on this and we've thrown a lot at people here, but what are the top 2 or 3 tips that you would give clubs that want to increase their effectiveness when it comes to hybrid meetings? And before you share, you can't use mine, which is make sure your meetings and events are hybrid. That's just kind of a given here. So okay. 2 or 3 quick tips, and then we'll open it up for Q&A after that.
Absolutely. So here's 3, and there's sub tips in it. One is the equipment, training, and buy-in. This can be fun, and it's all about mindset. And so have the mindset, start with why. And the tip is then get the equipment that you need and then practice with it. I've had some presidents where they bring me in and then they're like taking it out of the box at their first meeting versus practice at home or do a meeting, with your team the day before or the week before. Make sure all the cables are there. Practice, have fun. Just make that happen. That's a pet peeve because you do that a couple times. Once you get started, then give yourself the grace that it's going to be 6 to 8 meetings to kind of get good at it. That's one. Number two, promotion of your events with the big picture audience in mind. Think who may benefit, why, and include them. Get your calendar out 1 to 2 months. And now you have, as you let people know, who do you know that would be interested in this speaker? And the neat thing is the guest doesn't have to come in person. They can come virtually, or you can have actually your speaker be virtual. And the third is think of influencers to have as guests and as speakers. Make others the heroes of the story. If you notice those pictures, it wasn't me the hero. I was taking pictures of them. Ruth was the hero and Marlis was the hero and Mark and Steve, other people. Make other people the heroes of your story. It's all about them because they're always thinking, what's in it for me? WWWIIFM, what's in it for me? FM. Interactive, make it interactive. I'm going to leave you one tip from speaking. Do things in threes. You're given the message, but while you're giving the message, how do I involve people? You have a speaker. While I'm having the speaker who hasn't come for a while that might be interested in that industry, have them as the introducer of the speaker. Always try to layer what you're doing so that you have multiple touch points with whatever you're doing.
Awesome. Thanks, John. And I know a couple of the questions are lead into what you just said as well. Before we do open it up for the Q&A, just so you're aware, registration is open for our next couple of public image webinars, but I'm going to send the link to the March version here in just now. And you can register if you'd like to, because that one will be another good one. Also, if you have any suggestions for success stories to showcase or topics you'd like to see covered, please respond to the email that you get that summarizes this session, because we want ideas from you. Our team of assistants is putting together as much as we can, but the more ideas we can get that we know are going to be relevant and important to all of you, those suggestions are welcome. So now we'll go with any questions. It is just about 5 o'clock, so I know we try to keep this until about 5, but we'll go over in the Q&A a little bit here for another 10 minutes or so. But if you need to drop off, that's okay. We'll keep the recording going. But John, you just mentioned giving people a good experience and making people feel welcome. And Bob McLean from District 5580 asked, how do you make people, especially prospective members, feel welcome via Zoom?
Utilize their names whenever you can. So if a member's back twice, often we'll have them say something. Let them say something about themselves. A friend may introduce them, but then invite them to give 30 seconds or a minute on what they do or how did they come to hear about Rotary, or a little bit about their life. And so you involve them as the guest when you're announcing who are our guests today. And then as you're doing announcements or other touch points, you might mention at the end, we want to thank Jim and Susan and Jill and Karen and Bob for stopping in today. You're welcome next week. You're welcome anytime. Just find ways to use their names in a sentence and to get them involved. And certainly ask if you do questions in the room and then you do questions online often. And then maybe the next time you go questions on virtual, anybody has questions, hey, by the way, the guest, we welcome your questions as well. You just find a way to layer it in at the end of the sentence. I call it layering the cake. You have the message and then you start layering underneath at other places where you can have touch points.
Absolutely. And I know I don't like talking about my club, but I know in our club meetings, we have a online greeter and an in-person greeter. And then as we get to the more of the business part of the meeting, when we're introducing guests, it kind of alternates that, and with happy dollars is that, okay, let's go guess who is on, any guests on Zoom, and it's the responsibility of that greeter on Zoom who has made that person feel connected. Well, you know, when they're all talking that morning, they're introducing those people the same way. Then it transitions the people in the room, and same thing with happy dollars. It's okay, who's got happy dollars? And you know, like you saw in the one picture you had, everybody's up there in the Hollywood Squares version of things. And then when they're speaking, one of our tech people pins them, so they're the ones that are taking up the full screen. Again, the room, it's making them seem like they're more important, and it doesn't. And same thing with announcements or whatever. So you're not feeling like you're just watching something. And I think that was a good key that you made earlier on that too. And
you reinforced a skill or a technique, which is having the online host, and you have the greeters. We have greeters in the room, have a greeters online. And so if the room is opened up, let's say 10, 15 minutes early before your meeting, this person is greeting. If there's 6, 8, 10 people there, they're having a conversation. You just mute it. You know, on the mixer, you just mute that particular channel down so that it's not coming through the room, and they can talk, and then you bring it up when you bring the meeting together. Yeah. And I think one other thing I would suggest, because that's not always perfect, and sometimes you forget to unmute the people on Zoom, or you muted the room so the people on Zoom can converse while something's happening. If you have a tech person, make sure they're not overwhelmed, or have an assistant that's monitoring the chat box too. So if there are questions, or hey, we can't hear anybody, which I've seen in the past, somebody is watching the chat box at all times to make sure there's troubleshooting going on as well. You don't want to just ignore that part of things. Another question. The three most popular words that we heard, right? It used to, you know, we wanted to say "I love you," but it's really "you're on mute." And there you go, there you go. Jackie Johnson in 5950 asked, and now you can't go for too long on this. Got it. Any recommendations on equipment? Yes. Go to the link in the website. Download the technical guide. On it, I have links to Amazon and links to other places, such as this particular mixer. There's direct links. This equipment that's behind me is all in the technical guide. This particular, everything is there, and you just click on the links and find it. Certainly you can email me if you have other questions, but you'll see it right there. The links are live, and it'll take you right to the products that you need. So a simple mixer. Now, sometimes you don't need a mixer in a hotel or something, because they might have one and you can use it, and then it's just cables and doing the thing. So take an inventory of the room that you're in, take an inventory of whether it's got a projector or a big screen already, and then we start filling in the gaps. The key is going to be, it's all about this. Oops. It's all about this little card, and this is all in the guide. And so this is the sound card that fits into the computer, so that when I talk in the microphone, it's going to go through the mixer and out the speaker, and it's going to go through the mixer into Zoom at the same time. And when they speak on Zoom, it's going to come out. You'll change the setting to USB. It's going to come out, and I've got it set for channels 4 and 5 here. And so now you take it down to about a 0.2 to 0.4 of a delay. Everything is in real time. And so it's the mixer and this little sound card and cables. It's all in the guide. And I think everybody, especially over the last couple of years, we've become more comfortable with people having meetings from their office or from home or wherever, where that whole, I mean, even newscasts, sportscasts and stuff like that, interviews, doing it on Zoom is okay. And don't let perfection be the enemy of progress either. Good is okay. It's something is better than nothing. A couple questions here that, well, one question and then partly somebody else chimed in with an answer, but how do you handle and involve the Zoomers while people in the room are eating or chatting? That came from Linda in District 50 or 6440 down in the Chicago area.
And Leanne Davis had actually said, we put our online people into a breakout room during the beginning while table talk is happening. Then the tech person is in charge of bringing them back. That's one way. John, have you seen anything else that works as well?
Well, two, and that what you said earlier which is having the online host. And so now it's quiet and they're visiting amongst themselves. Your club is this way because it's a breakfast meeting. We're a breakfast meeting, though we pretty much start the meeting as we at about, let's say 25 till, but they can be visiting amongst themselves before this. And then during the meal, we're actually conducting the meeting. But at the Bloomington Club, they like to keep it open so that you're hearing the conversation of your friends. And in some cases, they're hearing the conversation of the people online. They can actually kind of do shout outs and things. Again, that's more based on the culture of the club. Your club, Kyle, I mean, you've got it gets loud. There's the jazz and of stuff going on. And so there's a culture that you built in, and it's Hollywood Squares. And literally you got people in boxes almost pointing at each other there. And in other clubs, it's done a little differently. So it's fun.
And one of the things that I've heard from our club, and I bounce back and forth between whether or not I'm there or not, but both my parents are in our club and weren't at meetings for 6+ months because my mom had a kidney transplant, so couldn't be there in person. But the people that are usually on Zoom contend that it's actually a better meeting on Zoom because in that 20 minutes, while everybody in the room is eating breakfast and only talking to the 3, 4, 5 people at their table, they're able to have a longer discussion with more people involved. And we've had a couple of speakers of significance, John Germ, past Rotary International president, being one. And I don't remember who the other one was, but they ended up having a second conversation after the meeting was done for another 20 minutes afterwards. So it was like, hey, those are great comments. And now we're just going to have our own little, coffee talk from that perspective too. So Dan Brown up in 5580 Fort William, I think that's in Canada, has 2 times enjoying those eating at 5:30, those by Zoom at 6:15 when the meeting starts. So yeah, that's an option too, is you don't have to be there at the same time. So but I think you're right, it does fit the club. Any other questions that I missed at all from anybody? And go ahead and unmute yourself if you want to, because we're probably close enough at this point.
And I have one final slide too at the end.
Hey, Kyle, this is Scott.
Hey, Scott, go for it.
I just wanted, first of all, thanks, John. You really inspired me down at the Zone Institute to actually come back home and research this and figure out a way to make this work. And in my case, I bought everything, up front. It's not expensive. I mean, we're not talking about thousands of dollars to do this. I bought everything that you have behind you there and then some, and I spent less than $500.
There you go.
So, and I have it in 2 suitcases, and one suitcase and 1 backpack in the trunk of my car, and it goes with me everywhere I go. So I encourage everybody to go do it. Yeah, it's well worth it.
Yeah, where the price can go up or down is based on what you want to spend on microphones.
Or that speaker behind you was the one that item was the most expensive thing I bought.
Yep. Some places you can plug right into the wall and you're using the house sound. Others you've got something for a couple $100, and you get to use it over a long period of time. It's a lot of good
John,
for you.
Another question here from the Chicagoland area. Richard Brill says, Our club has Zoomed forever successfully, but last week's restaurant room had very poor Wi-Fi and on-site video, and the on-site video and audio kept freezing. Any solutions to that?
Ask them. Yeah, that's the issue. Is you want, it's in our best practices, the do's and don'ts. You watch this video, but it's asking about what is the Wi-Fi? Can you stabilize it? I don't know. This is what you need to experiment, whether you could burn a hotspot. In other words, using a telephone, as a hotspot, but having the Wi-Fi. I like to go to a hard cable. So if you can get to a hard cable system, and if this is a place that that they're kind of married to each other, you're working together, then can you get an Ethernet connection to the Wi-Fi versus using the Wi-Fi? So you're bypassing the Wi-Fi. You'll get a higher speed that way as well. And last is sometimes in bigger hotels, they'll have 2 levels they'll have one level for just the regular hotel, and they'll have a faster level for conferences and things such as that. So, but if you're in a place that it's kind of choppy, people will forgive bad video before they'll forgive bad audio. So try to keep the audio live. And, when it freezes up, that's problematic. It does wear on people.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, Floyd.
Yeah. We're a small club.
Yep.
And we can get on like this, no problem. But the problem gets to be when we are the host. And wondering if you can is there a way you can email out a procedure list to do it right when you got to be the host and you're going to try to get onto the community's Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff? So we don't have any equipment other than a computer here that, we sit it down on the desk and have it be what it will be. But we got people that want to be on Zoom.
Absolutely, Floyd. How many people in the room typically? And then if people wanted to be on Zoom, so when you did Zoom, how many were attending? And when you're meeting, how many people are attending? Just help me get a visual of this.
Well, our meetings can be anywhere from 2 to maybe 6.
Okay. No, that helps. So there's 2 setups that I have on that particular web page that I shared, and I'm going to show you. I can do a quick screen share if Kyle will allow me to take the time.
Can you just send it to me on the email, please?
Yeah, it'll be Kyle. It's going to be the small club setup and just the video that goes with it. So
okay, that'd be great. We were a club.
You'll see it on that page. Just look for the link, small club setup. And it's a 6-minute video. It's on the hybrid page that we shared, and then just look at the equipment there. I do a demo of it. Okay. It's real. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. You just need to be able to get Wi-Fi and have a connection to some external speakers, small ones. They can be Logitechs because you got 2 to 6 people. That they don't need to be a speaker like what I have behind me. Be those little tiny speakers that you just plug into the speaker on your laptop. Have a little microphone that goes into the laptop, so people around, or you have 2 or 3 people, they just talk into the laptop, and then you have that hooked up into Zoom. And the reason you have the 2 small speakers, Floyd, is so that when the people on Zoom talk, you can hear them in the room. So there could be 5 people on Zoom, 2 people in the room, and you're having an interactive session.
Sounds good.
And you can either be looking at the laptop with 3 people gathered around and just looking through the one camera, or you could have a little bit bigger monitor, as I have behind me, or maybe they have a 65 or 85-inch TV, and you plug into that. And that just takes a few more steps and some practice, but it's all possible.
Makes sense. Why don't you do your last slide, and then we will bid adieu for the evening.
Yep. This picture it was such an impact. And it's the Scully story. If you recall, U.S. Airlines Flight 1549 with 150 passengers and 5 crew. And it was January 15th, 2009, where just shortly after takeoff, they went through a flock of birds and both engines went out. Now, what you might not know is this. Captain Scully was the senior. It was his plane, but he was not the captain for that flight. The junior flight pilot was the captain. As soon as they went through the birds and the engines died, I'll tear up on this, he said, "I'm taking over the plane." He owned it. It was 210 seconds before they touched down. In 3.5 minutes, he needed to determine, starting with why, the safety of the passengers, what he was going to do. He had never trained for this before, so he had to improvise. And he was skipping steps in the checklist to restart because he couldn't have the time to go through the entire checklist. So he went to his intuition and his skills. And at 2.5 minutes, he had made the decision. And with 60 seconds to go, he said 3 words to the passengers. The only statement he made to the passengers and crew in the back were these 3 words: brace for impact. Brace for impact. My suggestion is that each of you, with all that you do it with the heart, mind, and spirit that you want to help your Rotarians and community embrace and brace for impact. this is something you can use to do this, but remember the why. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you being here with us today, and appreciate everybody that's been in the room today as well. And thank you all. And again, we'll be following up here in the coming days with a follow-up email that's got some slides. It's got links to the resource library. It's got links to the videos, not only the full video, but broken down by sections as well, in case you just want to watch one thing or send it on to anybody else. And again, if you have any questions or would like us to cover anything specifically for you, let me know, because we're going to keep doing these each month for the better part of the next 2+ years. And so the more content we have, the more we can deliver. So enjoy your weeks, enjoy the rest of the month. Happy belated Valentine's Day, and have a good pets season for all of you as well that are going to President-elect training in the next few weeks, because they're coming. And I'll see you in, if you're in Dallas or Itasca, I'll see you there. Thanks, everybody.